I just hope to put out what I believe are facts. So if you take each of the points that I make, they are facts. A fact is a verifiable phenomenon, something that has happened and you can check. For example, he has never been president. There are things we can argue about. So convincing people is another level. But I think we should put out facts. And I'll explain a bit more why I felt compelled to do this. But let me start by saying there's a lot of controversy about, why should the senior vice president of a major think tank, step up and, so to say, endorse a candidate. This is not Imani. I am an individual. Like you said, I run my own business. I am a lawyer. I am a father. I am a chorister in my church. I am many things apart from being senior vice president of Imani. So I have my personal convictions. And I want to say this for the sake of my organization, that this is not Imani. So please stop that argument.
And people have said that until Imani Africa issues a statement to dissociate or distance themselves from the comment you have made, the endorsement you have made, they would treat the comments as belonging to Imani.
They have chosen to do that. You see, Imani has not issued a statement telling you this is what we've done. That is what we do when we have something to say at Imani. We issue statements, we have websites, we do publications, we have presentations. We don't have a problem speaking and owning up to the things we say, regardless of how controversial or difficult they are. Imani hasn't come to tell you that this is there. So if you want to pick it as Imani, that's why I'm making this public. It wasn't necessary, but the point must be made. This is not Imani, this is me. And I have the permission of my brothers in Imani and the Imani board. I told them I had to do this and I explained why. And I have their permission. We have our individual choices. Imani does not endorse candidates. We do what we have to do and we leave things to be. So that's the first point that has to be made. And I think.
But on that first point, how should the Ghanaian who does not belong to the NPP and is not happy with you, and those who also don't necessarily belong to a party and are not happy with you, how do they treat your commentary and analysis of national issues going forward when they know that you have a position in support of a candidate in the elections?
I always tell people that focus on the issue. Focus on what I am saying. Focus on the facts in my delivery. If Imani does something, say something, focus on what we have said. Too many times people are looking at some peripheral issues and reading things into other things. So see, tomorrow Imani will have something to say about something. Focus on what they've said and the substance thereof. Okay, now, I am not naive. And I've told you something many times on this platform. People have called us neutral. Right. And I took some time. For almost every year I have to say this thing. I'm saying it again. I have never been neutral. I am independent. And I told you about the Mandela story. If you are neutral in the situation of injustice, you've taken the side of the oppressor. So it is for me to tell you, I am not neutral. I've never been neutral. But being independent and having the courage of your convictions means you make up your mind and you find the wherewithal to communicate it. And people don't have to accept what you're saying, but they will have to come to grips with the fact that you are making some very important points. So when things are said, whether by Imani or by myself, please focus on that. If tomorrow I have to say something else, and you're going to say, he said this last time, and because of that, you are going to cheat yourself. Okay? On this platform, for instance, I know a lot of times you invite me here because I will speak in the middle.
That's right.
Okay? Now, if tomorrow Joy FM decides that because I've done this, they are not going to invite me, all well and good. But if on an issue they believe I have something to say, which is in the middle and I'm not supporting anybody, at that time you will know. So look, people should make up their minds, but you cheat yourself when you read all kinds of things into other things. So if tomorrow Imani is doing something, and you say because Kofi Bentil at a point endorsed a candidate, the first time in 30 years of my public advocacy, okay, you are not going to listen to me, that is fine. I will make my point and leave you to decide how you're going to deal with it. So let's focus on things as they are, listen to people and the content of what they have to say instead of reading all kinds of things.
Not to focus on this, but you must be concerned, this is Ghana, that the repercussions, there would be some significant repercussions, if you like, about the stance that you take. I belong to that school that says you don't have to be, as it were, neutral to be impartial.
Yeah.
You only need to be impartial, and you can.
Yes.
I have said, for example, that if you're a judge, if you were MPP today and you were appointed a judge today, you still would be able to do your work impartially. I've had the shock of my life when, because I've expressed some issue on a governance matter, this government at the very beginning said Samson is going to host the show. He cannot be hosting it because he has expressed a view. The politics can be that, dangerous.
It is. And look, I have had a very interesting week. And I was forced to even put it on my Facebook. People were meeting about attacking me. And there were efforts afoot. You hear a lot of these things. And I'm not saying this is NDC. But there are all kinds of surrogates and people who feel, upset about anything. And I don't have a problem with, debating and, intellectual discourse and debates, no matter how vigorous.
Right.
Okay. I block a lot of people on my Facebook, but I do that only when you insult. But if you want to debate me, no matter how harshly, fine. But people are planning to attack. Somebody says if NDC comes to power, they will collapse my business. You hear wild things. There are serious personal prices to pay for some of these things. But I agree with you. You don't have to be partial. And that's most unfortunate. It's a problem with our system, but
that's most unfortunate in this country.
Yeah.
That businesses will rise depending on which political party they affiliate with.
Exactly.
This is what we are doing to destroy this country.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. And
okay. So let's get in.
We need to get onto it, but let's get to it.
What is it about Dr. Bawumia?
So it is not so much specifically about Dr. Bawumia. So let me start from the beginning. See, across my maybe public life, from when I was a student leader, I somehow ran away from the limelight. But let's leave it. And it finds me all the time. It's my friends who want to write me in for that office. And I won by a landslide. That's an aside. But I'm saying I ran away, it finds me. And even from then, there have been times when it has fallen to some people, including myself, to do the unpopular but necessary thing. Let me give you an example. In 1991, when we were thinking of passing the 1992 Constitution, there were the transitional provisions. It was a major problem. And as a student leader, you are dragged into it. People are like, no way, we should not accept it. We're forced into the discussion of whether we want constitutional rule, we want a democracy or not, or we are going to give it all up because of the transitional provisions. These arguments behind closed doors and wherever, we had to get into it, very unpopular. In those days, transitional provisions, they were terrible. Why are we going to? Let me leave it alone. But after careful thinking, we had to push the agenda that, look, let us vote for this constitution, even with the transitional provisions, because what we are looking for is political stability. If it takes us securing one man to get political stability, let us do so. Let's get on. After a while, we will know what to do with it. Today, the ironies is no more. This constitution has been the longest lasting, the most durable. It was very unpopular then. People have even forgotten it. So here's the thing. It fell to me, I believe, to make these points because I got to a point where I realized that this country was angrily walking into what is perhaps a mistake. And these are my views. This is not Imani's views. When I sleep, I think about it. I look at what I look at. I read what I read.
Walking into a mistake that will be voting John Mahama back.
Yes. And I have a lot of personal respect for President John Mahama. He's one of the men who has served this country almost all his adult life. From local politician to deputy minister to vice president to president, and I believe an elderly and respectable statesman. In fact, in this write-up, I said, we are blessed as a country that we don't have to fight to determine who will lead us. But we have two fine gentlemen, President John Mahama and Vice President Bawumia, who we have to pick from. The other side of that is that we have been dealt that hand. We didn't have a choice in it. It was NDC and MPP. Of all the people in NDC, they picked John Mahama. It is their prerogative. And then MPP picks Bawumia. It is their prerogative. We, the people of Ghana, have been dealt this hand. You can like it or not. I think one of the two will be president. So we have to contend with the fact of who will it be. Sitting and reflecting on these choices. And Samson, Somebody called me, and I've received a lot of calls. Somebody very senior called me and said, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "You know what? What is your problem with me doing this?"
You're a bigger influencer.
Well, that's one of the problems. We'll come to that. But then I said, okay. He says he's angry that this has gone on, and I was so why? I said, okay, I know you are angry. I must be angrier than you. I was on the streets demonstrating. I must be angrier than you. Mm-hmm. I spoke. I was effective in mobilizing for this government to come into power. I must be angrier than you. I have been more critical of this government than you. Myself and my brothers in Imani, Prof. Bob King, Theo, no one in this country has been more critical, whether a Japa or E-Levy, than anyone. We've taken personal risks. I must be angrier than you, and I'm angry.
So we give you that. So see, is that not the contradiction?
But that's the point. There are no brain cells in your heart. Your emotions can't think well. The thinking has to happen in your head. So regardless of my anger, and you've seen it in all my advocacy and what we've done, I had to reflect and say, I am angry, and that is pushing me to vote President John Mahama back into government. Then I look at the options, and I'm like, every measure you come up with against Vice President Bawumia, President Mahama also fails on it. He has been a president, he has been a vice president, and the track record is there, whether it's corruption, whether it's transformational leadership, whatever it is. And when I looked at all of that, I came to the conclusion that we are better off picking Vice President Bawumia and giving him a chance. At the least, we should give him a fair hearing. Let us hear the man and listen to what he has for this country. Now, all of that together forced me to have to make that endorsement, not to his person, but in the calculation that it is better for this country, even if we are going to make a mistake, to make a mistake going forward. Because we have tried this other quantity, and we have had this.
We have tried John Mahama as president,
yes,
but not try Bawumia as president.
Yes.